Welcome to the NY Patriot Show. If this is your first time coming across this channel and you decided to play this because you're a Twin Peaks fan, I highly suggest you to go back, check out my other shows that I have on Peaks, and I also suggest to check out all the other content that I have done, my own stuff, and the plethora of amazing guests I have had on. If you're into this type of weird stuff with Peaks, I definitely think you will find my other stuff very interesting. If you're a returning listener, that is what's up, and thank you so much. You know the deal. My show does not cost anything. There is no commercials. It's not behind the paywall. So the best gift I can ask for is I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking for a share. Just share it. Pass it on. Family, friend, coworker, whoever. And, yeah, that's the end of that intro spiel. So every other week I've been trying to cover Peaks. And this week I'm doing it a little bit differently than I have been. I've normally been doing them solo. I'm having someone on who was a listener or is a listener to my show and happened to comment on my BitChute. And we ended up having a discussion, went back and forth in emails, and he definitely looks at Twin Peaks, I think, from the same, same stained glass that I do. We both look at it the same way. He definitely sees occultism behind it, and I thought just to change things up, make it a little bit interesting, and I have said this time and time again, and this is why I promote the Element server I have. I am not the say-so on everything. I don't know everything. This is a group effort. It takes a bunch of people to look at something and try to put the pieces together. So I figured I would have a guest on and get their take and their opinion on Twin Peaks, because I am not, again, I don't know what David Lynch is trying to say, and he doesn't tell us much either. So this is all up to our interpretation. So I would like to get a listener, someone who listens to my stuff, to come on and give their opinion. So this may be a little bit different, but I think it will be just as interesting as the other ones, and I'm sure we'll definitely touch on some interesting ideas with Twin Peaks. And going forward, I just do want to remind people, this is our interpretation, this is our commentary, this is our theory. Again, I'm not in David Lynch's head. I don't know what he was technically doing, but we can maybe make some assumptions. And that's all this is. So now I'm finally done with the complete intro. Today we have Giovanni from Gypsy Fox. And Giovanni, if you want, let everybody know who you are and let them know where they could find your BitChute and your YouTube.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Thank you for having me on your show. My name is Giovanni Pacini. I go by Gypsy Fox, and you can find me on BitChute under Gypsy Fox. Fox has 2 X's. And you can go on YouTube and find me under Gypsy Fox with 1 X.
Very nice. And I will also add those links in the bottom. And now, just to let people know, your channel isn't actually really based on Peaks. Your channels are on other things too, right?
Yeah, like my YouTube channel it used to have all kinds of like controversial stuff and workout stuff, and then YouTube cracked down on me and they erased anything that was like
controversial.
Anything controversial was wiped out. And so on YouTube, it's mostly like working out. I'm a truck driver, and I show you how to stay healthy and work out on the road. And I bullshit. And then on BitChute, I talk about everything. And so,
yeah, that's funny. A truck driver on the road. You know, it's funny because we were talking about the OTO before. You should maybe hit up Frater Oz and offer to give him some lessons. He's somebody from the OTO that's a trucker, and if you watch his YouTube videos, you just watch him. You can just watch him getting fatter and fatter and fatter.
Yeah,
So obviously, trucking may not be good, great for your physical health.
With trucking with me, I put a pull-up bar and a dip bar in my truck, and then when I stop, sometimes I'll get out and do burpees on the side of my truck, and I got people stop in cars, and they're like, "You work out as a trucker?" I'm like, fucking A. What? Why wouldn't I?
No, I totally agree. There was actually a time when I had thought about getting into that, and I was real big into you know, this is before I took another job and ended up getting hurt at work, and you know, whatever that's about to end, you know, I'll be able to start, you know, living my life as much more than I have been. But before that, I was very much into, you know, staying in shape and stuff, and I had thought about getting into trucking, just because, like, I even thought myself I can go places, see the world. You know, I just thought there was benefits to it, and besides the money, but I had even thought myself, like, started to like really think about the job and like what it's going to entail. I was like, I'm going to have to make sure I either eat correctly or I still figure out a way to work out on the road.
Yeah.
Because that job, just sitting all day and stopping at fast food places to pick up something to eat, is going to make you gain a fuck ton of weight.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, so like if you're in shape and you decide to start trucking, I'm like, you're going to have to really try to maintain that. In my opinion. So it's impressive that you actually do that, because that's been a thought of mine.
On my videos on YouTube, I show you how to put a pull-up bar inside of the truck, and you know, like I'm busting down. Like I will stop at the end of my shift, and I diet all day, so I'm eating like real healthy, and I'm eating low calories, and I'll do like the keto diet, you know, so I'm not getting any carbohydrates. And at the end of my shift, I'm doing 100 pull-ups, 100 burpees, and like 100 dips. Funny. And I'll get truckers that'll walk up to me and be like, "You look like you fucking work out every day." I'm like, "I do, mother." Like, you know, like I could jump out of this truck and do 500 burpees in an hour and a half. You know, like
you could do that in between deliveries.
Yeah, dude. Like people will look at me like you're fucking crazy, and I'm like, hey, I'm not, you know, this is a good job, but you could get caught slipping because you're going to turn into a fat slob. And I'm like, I can't do that.
No, that's funny, because I had even thought of, like, I had it all, like, I was, like, really thinking into it. I was like, I'll have to get a pull-up bar. I was like, I could probably get some light weights and a curl bar for, like, you know, my delts and my, you know, for arms. I was like, but then I can use the bar. Yeah, I totally was like, yo, I'm going to have to, like, think this out. But that's funny that you said that, because when you mentioned that to me before we recorded, I was like, that's so funny, because that's actually been a thought in my mind. Like, you know, if I ever did that as a job, I'm going to have to really pay attention and try to maintain staying in shape.
If you could do pull-ups and dips, forget about it. That's like that. I mean, that's like the most best exercises you could do, or pull-ups and dips, and then do burpees. And like, I was gonna get a bar to do squats, and then I was like, nah, you know, I'll just do 100 more burpees. You know what I mean? Like, but if you put a pull-up bar and dips, you're gonna be doing. You could get ripped, you know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, calisthenics are very good, I think.
Yeah.
But before we start getting off on that, let's get back to Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, it's all right. No, we both did. We both did.
Oh,
That's quite all right. I guess the first question, and for you, I guess I have, is when did you come across Peaks, and like what got you into it, and like how long have you, because it's been out for a while, so it could be something you got into when it first came out. Is it something you came across 10 years ago? But like, what was it, I guess, about Peaks that got you into it, and how did you start looking at it the way you do now? Like, what was that change for you?
Well, when I was younger, like 12, my mom had like a big house in upstate, and she was renting out a room to this guy Dave, who was like 20, and he used to always put the movie on, Twin Peaks the movie, right? I didn't even know what the series was. And the house we lived in was haunted, and I remember every time he would put Twin Peaks on, he would just put it on to clean whatever weird shit would happen in the house, you know, paranormal poltergeist shit, right? And so I always associated that show to like something that brought out the boogeyman in this haunted house. The house we lived in, somebody committed suicide. So I'll tell the story someday. Anyways, so in that movie, definitely would put a vibe into the house that would, you know, it would set things off. And it was enjoyable when you're with somebody, but when you're alone and, you know, chairs move and, you know, it's not fun, you know. It's like, anyways, so fast forward, I'm 43 now, and about 7 years ago, I had a house way up in the middle of nowhere in Shasta County by the Shasta Mountain. Like, you could see it from my porch. I lived on 40-something acres, like backwoods.
Oh, wow.
And I just had my little daughter. I had a daughter, and I just position myself at the home. I was just like the guardian of the home, and so I'd be hanging out with my daughter, and I stumbled on the Twin Peaks series. I'd never seen it, and because I was sitting there with my daughter every day, not just doing little baby stuff, I really started to watch it as I was babysitting my daughter and like studying it. And I know so much about occultism and Freemasonry. I was like, whoever like sat down and wrote this show, it was like a high level Freemason, high level OTO, high level, like anything occult you could think of, which I believe all comes from Freemasonry. They're putting a lot of symbolism in numerology and just everything in this show. And I realized, I was like, this is a really good learning. Like, I'm really learning a lot, whereas I had a lot of fun watching the show, and it was.
I will have to admit, in my opinion, again, I'm not saying this about anything with David Lynch. I don't know him well enough to start making accusations. I don't know if he was a Freemason in the OTO or what. But in his shows, some of the symbolism that I have seen has definitely shown to me that it's pointing towards Freemasonry stuff and OTO stuff. Especially like in season 2, when the Goetia isn't specific to the OTO. But I would say I think people in the OTO or the OTO has made the Goetia a little bit more popular. Crowley might have made the Goetia a little bit more popular, to the new magicians. So I do feel that there is a lot of Freemasonry symbolism, OTO symbolism. I even think he in a sense, points out sex trafficking. In that stuff. So, there's a lot of stuff in Peaks. Again, I'm not saying David Lynch was a Mason or a member of the OTO. It's just I do think he does use different types of societies or their symbolism or their archetypes. It's totally. A plethora of a lot of stuff in his shows, I think.
I agree.
Which almost, in my opinion, sometimes could make it harder to really understand what you're watching, because some people's flair on a thing might look a little bit different than somebody else's. I think the OTO is a little bit more sexualized than other orders. So, you can have something like from Freemasons, which is a little bit more conservative or just very, very different looking scene, style, and then you can go to something that is very different, but it's still occult. It just looks different. I don't know how to explain it, but...
Yeah. I know it, but that's what, when I would watch the Twin Peaks series, and I would be with my daughter just hanging out, and when I was just chill and happy, and I wasn't scared of when I was young and I used to watch it and paranormal stuff would happen, I realized I was watching, I was being lectured about occultism and Freemasonry and numerology. And I was just like, this is so cool, because I'm picking up on everything from the Twin Peaks itself. In my opinion, represents the Jaka and the Boas, the pillars of Freemasonry, the woman and the man, the moon and the sun, and I was just like, wow, whoever made this show, these guys knew their shit. They were dialed into the occultism big time, and so it's, now that I'm older and I'm a lot less, I used to be a bull in a china shop. Now I know a lot. I have a lot of wisdom, and it's interesting to see pretty much everything they put out. You could trace it back to occultism, OTO, Freemasonry, and it's why are they doing that? And then it's well, only a small number of us can pick up on it. So does that mean everyone that can't? Are they being? Is there a spell being cast on them? Is there something they're seeing it just on the or exoteric? You and I will see it esoterically on the inside, and that's when I wonder, okay, so are they having a spell cast on them? Because this is mesmerizing, deep shit, No, and it was every show was just it went deep into, like you said, you had sex trafficking, you had everything you could think of, but you had to have a sharp mind to see between the lines,
Yes. Yeah, I've even wondered, sex trafficking, cults in a sense. I think he does, try to I think he points out a lot of stuff with that series. But,
oh yeah.
I wanted to know, was there anything that stood out to you that was there a scene or anything or an episode or something specific to you that made you think like, wait, this show is like really trying to show me something, or was it just like you don't remember, you just know the show for being like that? Like I was wondering if there was like something that hit you and you were like, oh wait, what am I actually watching
here? Okay, the black and the white. I know this is simple, but like the checkered floor in the Freemasonic Lodge. I don't know if people know this, but that's called a Senate. And it's interesting because the word Senate, it means a tetrated floor, the black and the white checkered floor. It's an Egyptian word, and it's interesting that our Senate in America is called the Senate, and you realize that it all comes back to Freemasonry, and it symbolizes the black and the white. The white is everything's out in the open, it's pure, it's good, and then the black is the darkness that you don't see. And that symbolizes the two worlds. And then when I saw Agent Cooper, and he's got that black and the white Men in Black suit, and he's real, like, he's a very powerful, dialed in, person. He kicks ass when he has to. He's real good with guns in his hands. And he was almost like a Moses figure. And Moses, in my opinion, represents Hermes. And Hermes could travel in between both worlds. He was the messenger of the gods, and so he would be considered a gray man. When you take a white square and a black square and you mix them together, that equals gray. It comes out gray. And Cooper, I realized, I was like, he's fucking Hermes. He's Moses. He can travel up the mountain to speak to God. He could come back down. He goes up and down the degrees in Freemasonry, Jacob's ladder.
I think Cooper and I think Donald Jeffries, both their characters, I do think you see them ascend. They do go back in between both worlds.
Yeah.
They do have that.
And so that,
very
that
much
would
like
be
Janus.
Hermes.
And Janus too. Yeah, I even think that's why Jeffries' name might start with a J, and Janus would fall over on the chokemosphere on the Tree of Life, which gray would go with that as well, or pale blue. So I think his gray suit. Possibly some of the other colors he uses. I do think they do show that with Cooper and Donald Jeffries. Exactly what you're saying. They do go back and forth.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Cooper's weird shit, when he sees a lot of weird stuff or he gets these weird, ominous messages, those are his times when he's like kind of connecting to the other world and being fed information.
Yeah. And anybody who's familiar with the Old Testament, that's kind of what Moses would do. Moses is a representation of Hermes. Like when you follow these religions back to where they came from, you could say that. I don't know for sure. This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. And but remember when Cooper wanted to buy a house in Twin Peaks, and he went from the black and white suit to the checkerboard, like the black in the red, shirt.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think that even showed, instead of the red and black pillar at the top, I think that showed him drop down to Gabur, and he was like fully. He was fully into this world. That's why he wanted to buy a house now. And now he's looking at this chick, and he's like thinking about a woman. He was starting to come into this world much more than he has previously.
Yeah, totally. And he was like the FBI. He was like the high chutzpah. And then he found more common ground with the low-level cops. And he was like, I feel more human with these people than up here in this mystic world of the FBI or whatever they were. And he was, it was like all throughout the show, he was indirectly rebalancing to where he was like, I feel a little bit better right here in the, with in this world,
Yeah, I think you actually see throughout the series, in my opinion, well, the first two at least, the first two seasons, I do think you see battling, like you said, of him being attached to this world and still trying to be part of the other. I think you do see like a battle within himself, him even questioning it. Like the whole thing with him looking out the window thinking about Annie when he was talking to the other cop. I even think they're showing you there. He's starting to drift, you know. Yeah. I do think they do point that out, that he is starting to battle with with coming down the tree, actually, in a sense.
Yeah. Yep, climbing up and down the degrees. He was like Moses. Moses was the only person in the tribe that could go up the mountain to speak to God. You know what I mean? He would try. In that mountain, in the Bible, represents Jacob's ladder. Like, it's all Freemason. Even the fucking Bible, like, when you get deep into it, it's almost like the Freemasons make this.
If you're onto something with that, think about it. You're talking about mountains now. That's Twin Peaks. And David Lynch constantly shows electricity. So maybe there is something up with the mountain and the Jacob's ladder. Because
time, bro.
Look at the end of every Twin Peaks show. The Mark and Frost is electrical lines and electricity. Yep. He's constantly showing telephone poles, constantly showing electrical lines.
Direct current, DC, like in Washington, DC, direct current. DC, direct current also is 10, which is 10. In French, 10 is the 1 and the 0, the Jaka and the Boaz, the man and the woman, and you bring it together, and you got the X, that's the illumined man, that's the hermaphrodite. And you get that through a direct current of mixing 1 and 0. Or the magician hat, I'm going to pull a rabbit out of a hat, where you take the 1, which is a 1, and you hit the 0, and you pull out a bunny. It's really hardcore occultic shit. And the bunny in Freemasonry is bunny is bunny, right?
Yes.
It's one in French, Y, B1Y, B1 man, the illumined man.
That's bugged out.
But you get it by, you take the 1 and the 0 and you mix it together, and that's the illumined man, and that's what
I'm totally seeing what you're saying with the hat and the wand. That's pretty funny. That's interesting. Yeah, like the wand's the one, and you're hitting the hat. That's
that
really
electric current you would see, like electrocuting, that would be direct current, the D's, and that's what it was symbolizing. And the whole thing was, like I said, high level, in my opinion, Freemasonic occultism. And you mentioning the electricity thing is like, I just thought this up. I never even thought this before. But that's what I'm saying. You think about the stuff and you go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and it's like there had to be like 100 guys sitting around, like, you know, smart motherfuckers that study this shit and that live it and that are like born into it, and they're like, what could we do on this show to really, you know, stir shit up? And
yeah, I think there's definitely something up with electricity. And I mean, I've even said myself on my own show, I think, you know, you can boil magic down to like electricity. So I wonder, like, is he going into some real deep occulted science when he starts playing around and showing electrical stuff going on in the show?
Or like when you were talking about like sex trafficking, like, remember Agent Cooper? He was like a stand-up guy, right? And then towards the end of the show, he started to tell the sheriff the truth about that woman he stole from the evil guy that kidnapped Leo. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Anyways, and then you started to see that even Cooper had a dark, shady side, and it was associated to him taking his friend's wife. Remember, the story was, remember that guy that showed up and he killed somebody, and and then he kidnapped Leo?
Yeah, I think I covered him recently where I said I thought he might have been the archer he does kill somebody, I think, with the crossbow, kind of, right?
Yeah,
is he also the guy who also also hits Briggs with a dart, like, that knocks him out too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot his name.
He was Cooper's partner.
And
Cooper was fucking his wife, and then everybody, or like the sheriff's like, you did that, Cooper? You're a stand-up fucking guy, you know what I mean? But then you think back to when...
Well, you know what's interesting with that too is that we really don't have a storyline for Cooper prior.
Yeah.
To Peaks. And as you start getting into the show more, and as he starts getting engulfed in more of the town of Twin Peaks, all of a sudden he starts having a soap opera story too to tell. It's just it's very weird, right?
But it's like the duality of man. Like nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? And then once you find out something about somebody that you would consider almost perfect, like Cooper, you're like, what a piece of shit. But I love you, but man, you were fucking your buddy's wife? Like, what is wrong with you, you know? And it's like, no wonder he wants to fucking kill you. But then Cooper, if you remember at the beginning of the show, remember when Audrey came along?
Mm-hmm.
And Audrey had a crush on him.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And then every once in a while, he would have to argue with himself, like, she's not 18. Yeah. And she was pushing him to, you know, and it was, but you were always seeing, whether it was in your face, a battle between spirit and matter, you know what I mean? Right and wrong, you know, and you saw it with Audrey, and he passed that test, you know what I mean? And
we didn't pass it with Annie Blackburn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you something. You mentioned something before. Now I totally forgot. I had a question.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's quite I know I also recently covered the part with David Lynch in the show when he actually hears.
Yeah, when he was talking to that waitress.
Yes, the waitress. I forgot her name.
Shelley.
Yes.
Is it Shelley? Yeah.
I think that's it, yeah. I even, like, that's kind of like the same thing. I think it was even happening to David Lynch that had happened to Cooper. He started buying into this.
But it was like they were climbing the degrees, and then sometimes they would get knocked back down. They were going up and down Jacob's Ladder, up and down the mountain. They were doing the Moses and Hermes thing, to where they were traveling in between these parallel universes, and they were constantly at war with spirit and matter. You know what I mean? Like, it was interesting, man.
Oh, the thing about the sex trafficking, that's what I was going to bring up. The reason
I want to hear that.
The reason why I had, and it dawned on me when I covered another series. I thought it was kind of weird with the symbolism that I saw. Again, it may not have to necessarily mean that's what Lynch or whoever, Mark Frost, whichever one, put it in there. But like when you have the magazines, you remember how, like, I think they found one of the girls in the magazines, and that's how.
Oh, in the porno magazines.
Yeah. Now
they. Okay, yeah.
When we covered, who was it? The Loyal Order of the Moose and Gacy, John Wayne Gacy. He ends up connecting to a pedophile ring, a guy by the name of John Norman, I think his name was, or something like that. And his thing is that he would mail out, like, pamphlets to the people that were involved in the ring. And they would get, like, things advertising what's for sale. But, like, it was done through the mail, through, like, pamphlets or magazines. And I'm like, you know, is he even pointing out that, like, weird shit like that is really being done through magazines within an inner circle?
Of course. Oh, yeah,
I was like, what the fuck? Because, like, I've seen it in Peaks, and now I've come across something like that being done for real. So I'm just like, is there a connection?
That's how you know that, like, all this shit's tied in together. Like they had to know this is happening. Some of the writers.
Is that where you get the ideas from for the show? Is because this shit's really happening?
They like some of those people were probably involved in shit like that to even put it out there, you know. And these people that are real high up in these degrees, they don't see themselves connected to people like you and I, and so it's nothing to do bad things to people below you. You know, they're reaching a higher level, you know, than we are. And so to us, to a regular guy, that's like a death sentence. To them, they can put it out in your face and kind of like rub it in your, it's like rubbing it in your face in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's smart that you fucking picked that up.
Yeah. Wow. I was just like, well, because, yeah, after we came across that, I was just like, you know, I have seen this before in Twin Peaks, kind of.
Wow.
I mean, the girls weren't portrayed as ridiculously young as the children were in that sex trafficking ring I was talking about. Yeah. But, you know, it's still the whole same approach in how you're doing it, you know.
But so. they kept it right on the borderline, like with
yeah.
You know what I mean? It was right there. Whereas in a different culture, in our culture, it's like, okay, 18 is the line. And so they drew it right there. And then they would have the agent fighting with his hormones and morality. You know what I mean? There was a battle between that and then the thing with the Pulaski girl, the one you're talking about that was in the porn magazine thing that they found, right?
Yes,
the article. Yes. And it's like I said, Freemasonry, what I've learned, whether it's from Twin Peaks or whatever, a lot of it, you'll realize once you break it down and you figure out the symbology and the meaning, it's a slap in the face. It's like they're rubbing it in your nose. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn, that's pretty fucking hardcore.
Much, yeah. You know, and then I have wondered though, and I maybe I'm thinking this too because I might just be biased because I do like David Lynch's work. But like, did you ever wonder, like, do you think that maybe like sometimes they were trying to be like, not whistleblowers, but were they trying to kind of let people know what's going on for real? By putting this stuff into the shows? I like it. Okay, this is what I know. What you just said is very important. In the high levels of Freemasonry, way above the 33rd degree, which I told you this in an email, Freemasonry goes to 360 degrees, a full circle. When you've gone through all the degrees, you reach apotheosis. And when that happens, obelisk is dedicated to you. That's why there's a monument dedicated to Washington, D.C., dedicated to George Washington in D.C. He was a 360-degree Freemason. So when you go way high up in the Freemasonry, way above the 33rd degree, there is a thing, it's called mocking your victims. It's where they put it in your face, not directly, but indirectly. And when you could figure it out, you realize that, you know, they told us what they're going to do. It's a legality thing. These guys are extremely legal. They created the legal system. Mm-hmm. They created the laws, which is wall backwards. So what you just said is that you were able to break down the coding to where they told you through legality what they're doing, whether they do it through commercials or TV shows or newspaper articles. So in the high levels of Freemasonry, long story short. Well, they'll tell you what they're doing and say, well, I've already told you, and you didn't catch it. So
it's like with 9/11, like people could go back to old cartoons, like an old G.I. Joe from 88 to where like an airplane is hitting the fucking towers, or it just goes on and on and on and on. And to a regular person, a normie, they would go, that's not saying anything, but to somebody that can think in between the lines and has deeper thoughts and knows there's conscious and subconscious thought, you're able to look at that and go, wow, they were telling us all along. They put it right in our face. And then you realize it was a legal declaration. They were telling you what they were doing, you know?
Yes. Yeah, that was another thing, too. As I was saying that, I was going to say, you know, or is it part of just putting out, this is what we're doing and we told you. You know, so just because it's on TV doesn't mean that you have to be whistleblowing it. You could also be using it as a way of telling people this is.
And it's predictive programming, so that in the future, when they start rolling this stuff out, a normie will just remember seeing everything on face value, and then they'll take it as normal because they're like, "Well, I saw it on a show." Whereas a guy like you're going like, "Nah, there's something more to this," and then you're able to break it down, and that's your soul, man. That's the animating force that powers you, and a lot of people don't have that, you know. So that's interesting that you said that, because you're basically saying that, you know, you saw the declaration, the legal declaration they were making to you, you know, you picked up on it, you know. That's all. Like, I believe that whole show was. It was just right in your face when you really sit down and you analyze it. You know, like, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. This is what we have done. You know, these are the symbology. These are the numerology numbers. These are the.
Oh, you know what blew my mind is, like, once I started getting heavily into ceremonial magic and stuff, and like really studying like Kabbalah and occultism. And I went back, because like this is a show that I've rewatched countless times in my whole life. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll put on an episode, a random episode. You know, something I've been watching since it came out, practically. You know, again, like I was a kid when it came out. it might have been out for like 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 or 8, maybe a little whatever around there, and then I got into it a little bit more. And since then, I've just been, I'll check it out. But like after I got into ceremonial magic, I was just like, yo, like I was gonna get into you before we ended it. I wanted your opinion on the Red Room, but I was gonna say like even when I've gone to scenes in the Red Room, I was like, how the hell did I never catch on to like. Like there's a Saturn statue, then there's a Venus statue, then there's the Aquarius floor. I'm like, just like, how did I never notice any of that before? Like, I'm like, it was like peppered with symbolism, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
But what is your opinion on like what the Red Room or that whole part? Like, what do you think we're being shown or is going on there?
That's like red. Red symbolizes action and war and Mars and Aries and so that was a room to where shit was being decided, shit was being worked out. There was action. There was
change.
Like you got the ram symbolizes Pam. Pam climbs the high places, and so it was like they were being straightened out to go back up the mountain, to back up the degrees, But yeah, just I don't know. It's interesting that you even mentioned that because I forgot about it until you just said that, and then I remember there was serious shit going on in the Red Room. That was not a room to where games were played and bullshit was,
Because I even think in the series, I honestly I can't remember if it's something that you can see during the series or if it's something that you have to watch Fire Walk with Me or Missing Pieces, the outtakes. But I'm positive there is, if you watch the series, there is 2 different tables. One of them's green and one of them's blue. So I do think when it comes to that lodge and stuff, like you were saying, the red, I think, is going back up and actually going back up the degrees and going back up the tree. Totally. But I think there is times where they show the blue table. I think that's when Cooper or whoever is actually coming back down now.
Yeah,
and going back into Twin Peaks.
So this is something about Freemasonry. All the lodges are color coded, and I'll tie this in. Awesome. So the rainbow colors are each color of the lodge, and the blue lodge means the sky. Everything's out in the open. You can see what's going on there. The red lodge is like the war lodge, and then the black lodge is like the unseen occultic lodge. So you take a rainbow flag. That's what's funny about the LGBTQ flag and how Freemasonry works. It has nothing to do with that. It's the Freemasons using that movement to show off that these are all the Freemasonic lodges, and we're using the other side, the LGBTQ side, as a way to create chaos, which creates a revolution, which will get us to where we want to go, which is order out of chaos. Yeah. And so, but what you were saying about the colors, like the blue and the green, it symbolizes where Cooper would be mentally in his mind, where he's in the blue lodge, to where he's, he could be more open and free-spirited, and he's like, no one thinks anything's weird's going on there. And then the green lodge would be more of like the little more secretive, and then the colors, but it's all Pythagorean. You know what I mean? These colors, it's like the Russian flag after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's red, white, and blue, right? The French flag, red, white, and blue. The Dutch flag, red, white, and blue. America's flag, red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue in Pythagorean symbolizes revolution. So if you see red, white, and blue, it means those people or that country or that lodge has had a revolution.
It's interesting that you mentioned flags, because I think that might be something I actually wrote down as like a short for me to cover for myself. But me and I think I might have mentioned on Occult Rejects as well when we did the talismans, flags and crests, family crests.
Yeah,
my opinion, those are all talismans. A flag, I think, in my opinion, a country flag, if you break it down into occultism, will actually tell you what part they're playing in the game as well.
Yep. Like I said, it's just like the Russian flag used to be the hammer and sickle. Remember the USSR, and now it's red, white, and blue, and it all goes back to Pythagorean colors. It's symbolizing to all the Freemasons they've had their revolution. You could take every flag that's ever been made for every country, and it's all fucking Freemasonic, and it all has to do with signaling to the higher ups on where they're at in the revolution. A revolution means going a full circle. That's Jacob's ladder, getting to the, going a full circle. And you can only get change through chaos. That's why we're going through all this chaos, and all the idiots think it's real, and that they have to participate in the dumb stuff, whereas only a handful of people like you and I think about it and can break it down and go, okay, hold on, like we're being made fun of here. Let's stop and think about this, And it's in TV shows, everything,
For sure.
It's legality. They have to put it in our face,
It's now, I guess, the last question, and then we'll probably wrap it up after
Yeah,
this.
that's cool.
And you can take your time if you want to answering this.
No.
I guess, what is your overall opinion of, like, what's the point if the show is putting out that type of stuff? Like, what do you think the overall point, I guess, of the show? What is it, like, really trying to say or tell you or do? Or, like, what's your take on, I guess, on Twin Peaks overall, really? I mean, with the occult, but, looking at it from an occult aspect, your opinion.
From the occult thing, I like, there's so many aspects and elements to it. I would say, one, it's a spell. It's a spell. They're trying to bind you with the spell. You know what I mean? And they also know that there's thinkers out there that will sit for years like we are and break it down and discover things that, you could look at and go, oh, that's what they were doing. And also a lot of these guys that are high level Freemasons, like way above the 33rd degree, they're very narcissistic and psychopathic, and they like to show shit off, and they know they can't directly come out and talk about sex trafficking or just all the weird, creepy shit that that's happening, and that they put out in symbology form all the time. It's just a way, I believe, to make a legal declaration to clear them of any harm through karma. Because there's no rule that says how you're supposed to tell people you're doing sick shit, as long as you put it out there indirectly or directly. And then it's, and then it's just them showing off how much more intellectually superior they are to us, that they could, like, put it right in our faces, and most people will only see the outside of it, whereas only a small number will be able. That's the exoteric and the esoteric. Exoteric is the exoskeleton, the outside. Eso is on the inside. And it's just, to me, it's them showing off their intelligence and their power and their strength and how far along they are. It's a legal declaration, and people will be talking about it for years and years and years to come, and most people won't get it. And that's what's
actually kind of a good example with that is that, when I know when that show got big, I think that diner that, did exist in real life. Started getting, like, slammed with people coming there for the coffee and pie because of Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
and, my opinion, I think I might have mentioned it on an episode, that coffee and that pie, I think, is all symbolism in itself.
Oh, yeah.
I think it could be the black sun, or you have the white cup, and then you have the black.
It's
again,
the black and the white. You got the pie, which
is the red.
Represent white. Yeah, and
the white and red.
The black coffee.
Yeah, so I was just like, and you have people going there to buy the pie and the coffee, which we know, whatever, they're just, that's cool. But, like, you're going out and spending your time and money now on something, on something me and you look at completely different.
A normie can only see coffee and pie.
And I'm like,
whereas you're able to see deeper than that, and most people can't go there, man. And
or people just think I'm crazy.
Yeah. Oh God, I have people, they won't even talk to me.
They're like, yo, you're mind fucking coffee and pie with it. No,
yeah, you're out of your fucking mind.
It's like everything else is so out there. Why isn't this? With that
my
show.
My ex-wife, like, when I would point something out, like occultism in your face, she would go, dude, like, you fucking retard. I'm going, what you don't see this? Like, what is wrong with you? Dude. Yeah, it's funny.
But yeah,
that was fun, bro. Yeah.
I do it. I mean, listen, like I said before, you know, I'm probably a little biased because I am a fan of his stuff. But I mean, even what you just said before, that's kind of why I brought it up, because I do think, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know these people. I just have a belief of who they are because of what I've seen constructed in my own mind. So is that a possibility? It very much could be. So, I mean, you know, but I do think that's an interesting take, because I have even said it myself plenty of times. They just have to tell you what they're doing and they're okay.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to say that was the point of the show, but you never know. Yeah. You never know.
But in real fast, a lot of it also is based on Kabbalah. In the Kabbalah, if you ask somebody that studies and practices the Kabbalah, there's no good and there's no evil. There's no bad, there's no good. Because what they'll say to you is, yeah, what we did might have been evil, but the outcome is utopia and love and safety. And so it's like the ends justifies the means. Yes. So in a way, it clears them of any wrongdoing, because they're practicing it in a way to where they're always protecting their back door. Whereas like it's hard to explain, but in the Kabbalah, there is no right or wrong. It's the end justifies the means. And when you have that mindset, you at least have to respect these guys on how they lay out this war on us. It's a war on the human race. And some people climb to degrees and leave the lower level guys, the bottom of the fucking pyramid, and go up higher to the top, you know? That's what it's about. And guys like you can pick up on it and talk about it and think about it. And that's what is wrong in today's world, is there's no thinkers. Is it Jesus that said, and I'm not a Christian, but my people die from lack of knowledge or some shit like that? Is that? I don't
sounds
know.
good.
But anyways, yeah. Maybe old JC said it, but somebody said, you know, and that's a good metaphor. You know, my people suffer from being fucking retards. You know, like.
No. So I agree with you on that. Sure. Do you want to, before we wrap it up, do you want to plug your stuff again, your channels, just to let people know? Especially if there's any truckers out there, you want to see workout videos, right?
Yes, I do like trucking workout shit and dieting on YouTube, and you can find it through Gypsy Fox with 1X. And then on BitChute, if you punch in Gypsy Fox, FOXX, I have videos to where I talk about everything, politics and just pretty much everything. So you can check out. I don't have social media and all that stuff, but I've got
probably better off not having.
Yeah, I know. So anyways,
I tell myself every day when I open up Instagram, I'm like, yo, what do I even use?
Yeah, I don't even have any of that stuff.
Honestly,
man.
If it wasn't that I speak to a lot of other podcasts through the Instant Messenger on there, I probably.
No, I know why. Yeah, like some people, it's like when someone goes, I have a Facebook. It's like, well, do you have a business? Do you have why? You know, and then when they go, because I have a business, but when they go, yeah, I do it to keep in touch with my friend from kindergarten. I'm like, you're 50 years old. Like,
just get their number.
So.
But I'll grab your links. I'm pretty sure you sent them to me in the prior email, right? Because I know I
If you want, I'll dig them up and resend them to you.
Yeah. If you don't mind, resend them to me.
No, not at all, man. Cool.
I will put them in the show links if anybody wants to go check out his stuff.
Yeah. Thank you,
Giovanni. Man. Thank you so much for jumping on with me and talking about it. I had a good time. That was a fun chat about peaks. I could do it constantly. Check out his stuff, and again, if you're a returning listener, thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, share it, pass it on. If this is your first time and you enjoyed this, hit that sub button before you forget. Go check out the other stuff and share the show as well if you don't mind. Cool, that is the end of another NY Patriot Twin Peaks show, and until the next one, everybody be well. Later.
All right, later, bro.